I'd been to 5 different like general practitioners, and I just kept getting given a different type of antibiotic. And I ended up going to a specialist, getting to a dermatologist. He put me onto the harshest drug, where you literally had to sign a waiver around suicide. And he said, like, it affects your mental health. And I was already, like, battling, like, not super bad. Like, I don't want to dramatize it, but I was flat compared to what I normally am. And
of course, man. Like as you said, your whole quality of life has been affected. Like your health is affected, your energy levels, your productivity, your relationship as well.
exactly, bro.
You know, I just want to pause there for a second and discuss, you know, everything you just said there before we go further. There's a lot of
Go for
stuff that I want to unpack there, man. And for the audience, you know, I think it's important for them to understand that, you know, antibiotics, whilst they can be great at times, they shouldn't be, you know, something that you rely upon, because what antibiotics do is they kill off all fucking bacteria, good and bad. And, you know, we've got like something like 2 kilos worth of bacteria just within our gut, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, all of that plays a part. Even bad bacteria as such, like, plays a part in our immune system. You know, this bad bacteria then creates an inflammation response, and the immune system goes, hey, we need to deal with these things, and, you know, sends out these killer cells and blah blah blah, kills off this bad bacteria, and then, you know, it's created these antibodies. So if you experience that again, then it can deal with it. So that's, you know, bad bacteria can be a good thing, right? But then when you take these antibiotics to kill this overgrown bad bacteria, you're also killing off the good bacteria.
Yeah.
Which, as you said, like, is directly connected to the brain. It's connected to, you know, all of our systems, man. And, you know, what I think it's like 80-90% of our immune system lies within the gut. So if your gut microbiome is in dysbiosis or imbalance, then that literally affects everything else in your body, man.
100%. Yeah, exactly. And it was, I mean, like, looking back on it, it was crazy to look at the way that you were prescribed before diagnosis, if that makes sense, from the doctor. So it was like,
Yeah,
literally, it wasn't until recently when I connected with a really good integrative nutritionist, like a really top level person called Katie Boyd. Katie, if you hear this, thank you for all your help. You're amazing. But she's an awesome person.
Katie's definitely going to hear this, mate. You're going to send me this link.
Katie Boyd, like, and to be honest, like, she forced me to go and get tests to work out exactly what was going on. So there was a couple of different tests that I did, and she was like, you just have to go and get them, because for me to understand what I need to do for you from a nutritional supplementation perspective, I need to understand what the imbalances are, what's growing, what bacteria is there, what's not there, what's been destroyed. And so she got me to go and do a stool sample test, and there was a breath test that I had to do as well, and a nasal swab. And on the back of that, she got all the data that she needed to understand what was actually going on internally. Now, she was the first person to do that. I've been to specialists, dermatologists, doctors, the works, and had been prescribed antibiotics. But
you, when you were speaking to these guys, like, it wasn't addressing the underlying issue. Like the skin specialist is just addressing the skin.
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, what are some of the underlying concerns that may be affecting the skin?
100%. But I had raised that with them. I'd been like, I know that it's to do with the gut. Like, I need to treat my gut, and my concern is that everything that I'm being prescribed is actually destroying my gut. So I'm going to end up in this cycle where I can't get off medication. Like, I was. And they were going,
That's exactly what happened, bro.
That's exactly what was happening. But I got in a place where I was just stuck with it. And, like, you couldn't go off the medication because you'd have these horrific flare-ups and painful. And, like, it was not a good situation. And so Katie was the first person who got to the bottom of what was actually going on, so that she could then create a protocol based on what she knew was happening. But it was like, in that moment where I was like, wow, we've just spent 2 years literally just prescribing without diagnosing first. And I was like, holy shit. And like you say, don't get me wrong, I'm not bagging the medical industry or antibiotics. There's a time and a place in an acute situation where that stuff's crucial. It saves lives.
100%, mate. That's what Western medicine's so good at, man. It's treating these acute issues. Like, if you're in an accident and you need to get your fucking leg amputated, okay, it's very, like, Western medicine's very good at that, okay? But if you've got, like, this is the difference between East and Western, right? Like, the Eastern medicine is like, hey, let's, like, give them these fucking herbs and spices and all of these different compounds that, you know, keep everything optimized beneath the surface. And you know, maybe it's not so good at treating acute issues, okay, but it's typically pretty good at chronic issues,
Yeah,
whereas Western
100%.
medicine's good for acute issues, but not so much at chronic issues. So this is where like that blend of East and Western medicine is, you know, that's the approach that needs to be taken, man, because everything's a fucking tool. And yes, there's going to be times where you need, you know, medication to deal with whatever it is, okay, and, you know, address these issues right there, right then. But then that should only address those issues so you can get to a place where you can then start addressing the underlying cause. And this is where the integrative nutrition, functional medicine comes into play, man. You know, we need to look at the system, the organism as a fucking whole, because everything works together. There's not isolated systems, they're integrated systems.
Yeah, man. Exactly, 100%. And I mean, that's a big learning for me, you know, like, but it was interesting because I set out initially really just to lose weight and get in shape. I was like, I need to get my energy levels up, I need to clean my stuff up.
When was this, sorry?
Like, just once I found myself in that place where I was so fatigued on the back of probably 18 months on the antibiotics and stuff, and I was like, I need to do something. But in my head, it was what I know, which was get a decent training program, get your body working properly again, clean up your nutrition. And in the process of that, I was like, and also like pay attention to your gut health and try and rebuild your gut health. But so I reached out and got help from Katie, and I also hired a coach, a guy called Jack Boone, who I met in Thailand, funnily enough. And he helped me with a training program and with my nutrition and stuff. And to be honest, the turning point was the intake that was asking for help from him. And just admitting where I was at, because I've always been like a pretty fit, healthy person, and like part of my identity is around being a high performer and trying to give lots of energy to other people and be ambitious and all this type of thing. And to find myself in a situation where maybe I wasn't all of those things, asking for help and admitting where you're at was difficult. And I probably the big turning point was actually reaching out and just saying to Jack, mate, I want to lose some weight, I want to get fit and healthy. And sort of thinking that he would take a surface level approach and go, cool, man, let's jump on and have a chat. And he gave me a questionnaire that took me fucking 2.5 hours to fill out, which was everything from my sex life to my sleep to my fucking, like, what I have for breakfast to, like, mate, emotional health.
That right there is a sign of a fucking good coach, mate.
Yeah.
That is going to ask those hard questions, man.
It was
everything, for me,
man.
that's a filter for me, bro. Like when I send through my initial consultation email to my clients, man, like that gives me an indication of how invested they are in their own journey, man.
I'm not joking when it took me like at least 2 hours to fill it in, probably. And like it was so in depth, but it was a tool for me where I had to reflect on where I was at. I had
100%, and that's that email is or that questionnaire. It's a snapshot for the coach of where you're at, but also, you know, what's led you into that point, what your expectations are. But it's also, you know, a reflection for you.
Oh, massively. It's a huge mirror.
Yeah, bro. Exactly. You need to look in the mirror, man. You need to ask those questions. I've had the same thing where I've had clients go, man, like, thank you for that email, because that got me thinking about things that I typically wouldn't even think about, hadn't even considered. And when I was filling out that consultation form, I was connecting the dots myself.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And as someone who has a good base level of knowledge, I did know what to do. For the most part, like, don't get me wrong, there's levels to the shit, and the people that I hired have 10 levels above my knowledge, but I did know roughly what to do. But I also had to admit that my energy levels and stuff were so low that I actually couldn't put, like, I needed help to put, I needed the accountability. And I thought about it, and there was a few people, you being one of them, to be fair, where I was like, who do I respect the most in this area that I wouldn't want to let down? Like, because you get good at letting yourself down over time, you know, like, and particularly if you go down a path like that, it's like, I've said I'll get my health together and haven't quite got it together, and you become good at negotiating with yourself, man. And like,
it's that slippery slope, bro.
100%. And I just found myself on it, and I got myself relatively early on it, but I did find myself on it, and I was like, Jack had been doing some specific stuff around skin health, so I reached out to him, and I knew that he was really good on the weight loss transformation. That was part of it that I wanted to do. And anyway, he just straight off the bat drew a line in the sand, and he was like, fuck, man, we got to look at everything. Like, what time are you switching your phone off at night? How much screen time have you got? Like, are you getting in the sun first thing? What's your circadian rhythm like just everything. And I all stuff that I knew, and I was like, yeah, okay, you're the right, like, we're on the same page with it. And I actually I just surrender, like kick my ass, tell me what the fuck I need to do, write me the blueprint. I don't want to think about it. I don't have the energy, but I want to do it, and I'm because in those moments you realize the level of energy that you have dictates the quality of your life, full stop. And you can't you can't have a quality of life without a high level of energy and vitality. And like sometimes, I mean, it was a good reality check for me because I found myself without it, and then all of a sudden relationships that were good were starting to suffer. Business that I loved, I was not enjoying anymore. Like everything, all the stuff that I found joy in, I was getting less joy and less fulfillment and everything from, because my energy was so low. And so that was like a thing where I was like, I need to focus on rebuilding my energy, and I need to get my energy levels up so that I can get back to how I want to live, you know.